With Blue Link Plus, you can access your Hyundai Tucson Limited remotely. Doors unlocked, temperature set, lost car found.
There it is.
Get complimentary class-leading Blue Link Plus. Call 562-314-4603 for complete details.
I'm Tim Fitzgerald at GoPowerCat.com.
And I'm Scott Chasen with Fog.net.
This is a replay of WIBW's TV show, The Drive.
Here's this week's episode on the 24/7.
Good evening, Wildcat and Jayhawk fans, and welcome to The Drive, sponsored by FlintHillsAuto.com. I am Tim Fitzgerald at GoPowerCat.com, and the man to my right, filling in for Scott, is Tyler Griever, the WIBW, that's his station, sports director. The man.
I appreciate you letting me know that we're here, because
Well,
I didn't know that
it's
we were
just
here.
Scott's not here for like a month straight now. We're back from bowls and basketball and holidays and all the other stuff that we haven't been on with, but it's a new year. Same us. You can interact with us on social media at Facebook.com/The Drive Show, on Twitter at The Drive 13, and of course answer our weekly poll questions and make your game predictions at TheDriveShow.com. And remember, if you ever miss an episode of The Drive, you can listen to an audio-only version that will appear each Monday morning in the form of a podcast at both GoPowerCat.com and Scott's home at Fog.net. And we start things off with our 2-minute drill. And our 2-minute drill is sponsored by Hula Hands. They've been expecting you. Now let's eat. KU basketball and West Virginia are two teams that like to play big, yet it was Kansas's four-guard approach that led KU to victory. Tyler, what did you make of Saturday's matchup?
You've heard Bill Self talk for a long time, right? What is one thing he usually comes back to quite a bit?
That I'm handsome?
Well, we all do that. But he always likes to either maybe question KU's toughness at some point in the year as maybe a motivational tactic. I think this game so early in the season really showed some great toughness from KU. That was the first time they've won at fall, scoring 60 points or less since 2006. It was their worst shooting performance of the season. They led for the least amount of time of the year. This is not a game they should have won, Tim, to be honest. WVU is a very good defensive team, but I think KU met them defensively and was able to make enough plays to win. You look at a guy like Christian Brown, a freshman, played the entire second half for Bill Self yesterday. How many times does that happen in a conference opener against a ranked opponent? They held West Virginia to 32% shooting. I think this Jayhawk team has shown that it can be a really good defensive team this year in college basketball, and the sky can be the limit if they can score a little bit better against defensive teams like West Virginia. But they took the punches to the mouth, trailed at halftime, and still found a way to pull that game out. So I think toughness might be the biggest takeaway from that win yesterday.
Coach Self really likes this team, and for good reason.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
there's just something about this group. They're getting more out of their freshmen than maybe you would expect.
Yeah, I think Brown, Tristan and Aruna have really shown some flashes. And I don't know, I look at a guy like Brown and I think he is a classic, just looks like a classic tough college basketball guard. A kid who can come in, give you some quality minutes off the bench this year and maybe develops into a better player than you thought. Azubuike yesterday had a heck of a battle with Oscar Tshiebwe. Tshiebwe is going to be a problem in the Big 12 this year. It was a problem for KU yesterday, but KU was able to withstand the storm that Tshiebwe brought, get the ball into their big man. I mean, as a Buki, there's only so much you can do after a while, Tim, to keep that kid from getting to the basket. He's been perfect from the field, I think, in 3 of his last 5 games. So if they establish him inside and just be able to knock down at least somewhat consistently outside, they're going to be tough to beat.
And how old were you in 2006?
Let's see, I'm 27 right now, so about like 14.
Yeah. And I was old in 2006.
Oh my gosh, let's not go over the ages anymore. Kansas State led for most of the game at Oklahoma, unlike what KU did against West Virginia, but a few untimely turnovers in the final minute of the game cost the Wildcats and a 5-point loss to open Big 12 play. Was this more of the same from Coach Weber's Cats, Tim?
No, actually it wasn't. It was more the same in the fact that they found a way to lose late in the game, something this K-State team has been doing a lot of as of late. But they did play pretty well for 39 minutes or so. They shot the ball well enough to win. They fought hard. They were really pretty clean and efficient for much of the game until Oklahoma did something completely unexpected, according to Bruce Weber. They went to a zone in about the final minute of the game. And Bruce Weber said he just didn't see that coming. And I was left thinking, How's that? You
Yeah.
can't play against the zone. Everyone seems to know it. I can't coach basketball. I would be a horrible coach. I would zone Kansas State.
Yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind. And even if my guys didn't know how to play zone, which Oklahoma apparently doesn't, I would do it. It worked against K-State. Cartier-Jada had another just horrendous late game turnover in which, he just tried to make a pass. You can't have a veteran guard making it. It led to a run out, easy layup for Kansas State. K-State couldn't catch a break in this game. Coach Weber complained about the officials. We'll get to that in a little bit. And they didn't get some calls that you probably need to win. But the bottom line is this team can't make plays. It just doesn't make plays down the stretch. And at what point do we say it's time to fully invest in the freshmen? And hey, Coach David Sloan, the point guard, the junior college point guard, maybe doesn't play defense quite like you want him to, but things seem to run pretty well when he's on the floor. He kind of gets things going. Now, look, I don't know where K-State's going to end up, but this was a game they could have won and didn't. They come home on Tuesday night to play TCU. That is a game the Wildcats need to win. There's not very many victories as you look at the schedule in Big 12 play. That is one that really counts. And stealing one to open the season would have been big, but let's remember something Coach Weber reminded his fans of. Last year's team won the Big 12 and started 0-2 in Big 12 play.
It's a great point. I don't think we're going to get the same results.
It's not the same team.
You got to trust those young guys more. I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
The Big 12 in football went a sad 1-5 in bowl games this season, including K-State's 20-17 loss in the Liberty Bowl to Navy. The conference's lone victory was Texas over Utah in the Alamo Bowl. What does this say for the state of Big 12 football right now, Tim?
I feel like we should answer this entire segment in emojis. Like laughing emoji.
I've done segments like that in the past,
crying emoji. Here's something no Big 12 school really wants to say other than Texas. Thank goodness for Texas, because the Longhorns did look good in their bowl game. Everyone else, Oklahoma State squandered a lead, K-State blew an opportunity, and everyone else kind of stunk it up.
Yep.
It wasn't a good year for the Big 12. I think it's clear that the conference wasn't as good as it has been this season, and it hasn't been as good as you would want. But I don't think this one season says the Big 12 is falling apart.
I think it's indicative of how we evaluate college football conferences in that the depth of the conference is not dictated by the top teams. It's dictated by teams, 3 through 8
right.
of how good they can be. And when you look at the Big 12, a lot of those teams really didn't live up to the expectations that we thought. Iowa State had a lot of hype coming into this season and what they could do under Matt Campbell. I think they completely underachieved this year. A team like Baylor might not have played well in the Sugar Bowl, but Baylor honestly overachieved, I would think, this year. Who had them in the Sugar Bowl against Georgia? Texas underachieved. K-State overachieved. But on the big stage, when everybody's watching during the holidays, you can't fall flat on defense. I don't think K-State really did that against Navy, to be honest. I think they played a pretty good defensive game, but everybody else just kind of fed into that narrative that Big 12 defenses can't compete on the national stage.
Yeah, it was very disappointing. And, I look at it this way. The conference is wide open. You've got Oklahoma up there, but they're not so far out that nobody can catch them. I think we saw on the national stage that there was 3 elite teams in the playoff and Oklahoma. That would have been the same if it had been Georgia or Oregon or anyone else who could have slid into that 4th spot. It would have been a mismatch. So I think although Oklahoma wasn't great this year, they still are the conference's best. But there's room for programs like Kansas State to chase those programs down.
No question.
Think that.
I think K-State showed that this year. It was a great season. It was a good surprise season. So
now a quick look at your poll question results. And poll questions are brought to you by Film at 11, your go fast, look good, play hard, custom shop.
Last week's question was how many games will K-State win during its 18-game Big 12 schedule for hoops? A, 10 or more. B, 8 or 9. C, 6 or 7. D, 4 or 5. E, 3 or fewer. And the winner is 6 or 7 with 40%. Tim, you agree with that?
Would you take 6 right now with this team?
I'd have to see some strides. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Yeah, I think 6 in some ways is optimistic.
And I'm not even trying to be harsh. That's just honest.
No, I totally agree with you. Here's this week's question. Tom Brady said after Saturday's loss to Tennessee, insert giggle, his hope is to continue playing. How much longer will his career extend? A, he's done playing forever and ever and ever and ever. B, 1 more year. C, 2 more years. D, 3+ years or until his bones are brittle. Vote at thedriveshow.com.
I don't think he's done.
I don't think he's done either.
You know why? Because how many legends have we seen change uniform? It's not unheard of. We can't act like it's not unheard of. Brett Favre, Joe Montana, Peyton Manning, all of these guys, they played for other teams at some point in time. It can happen. It can. I don't know if Tom is paid. The weaponry in New England was not great this year. It's as bad as it's ever been.
Would you sign Tom Brady running a different system?
I think he has earned that chance, yes. I think he's the greatest quarterback to ever play the game, and I think if you do a hard evaluation, you bring him in for the physical and see where he stands at his age, and you're confident in that, I think he deserves a shot as much as anybody else.
Very good. Well, that will do it for this half of the 2-minute drill, but we will be right back with more on KU and K-State on The Drive.
Listen up. I won't sugarcoat it. This is the longest cold, flu, and allergy season we've ever seen, but we're not alone. We've got Instacart. Sure, you may be a coughing snot faucet who just wants mommy, but you're not giving up. Not when cold medicine, fragrant herbal teas, and honey shaped like bears can be delivered through Instacart in as fast as 30 minutes. Now let's go win the sick playoffs.
Daddy, I just want my soup.
Oh, sorry, Sport. App says it'll be here in a few minutes. Instacart for the win.
Welcome back to The Drive as we continue our weekly 2-minute drill. The 2-minute drill is sponsored by Hula Hands. They've been expecting you. Now, let's eat. Devon Dotson has struggled shooting the ball, but KU has still picked up back-to-back impressive victories. What do you make of the point guard season to date?
I think he has proven he's one of the best guards in the country.
Agreed.
I still think he's done that. I think he has not taken maybe a step forward as a three-point shooter that we think so far. His two-point percentage is actually about the same. He's shooting 53% on two-point shots, but the three-point percentage is down from 36 to 31. He's still taking more threes per game. Look, Devon, the strength of his game is that he's one of the quickest guys you will find. His step, his burst, and getting to the rack, and not only getting to the rack, but finishing around it with contact is as impressive as you'll see. But I think maybe what KU fans have been used to, especially in recent years, when we look at a guy like, say, Devontae Graham, is a guy who can pull up and nail a consistent three or a consistent jump shot. Heck, we see him doing it in the NBA right now. Right now, that's not what Devon is, and he has a good bit to go before he can get there. What he is, though, is he is creating turnovers for them on defense. I mean, he's averaging 3 steals a game. He just had 4 in the last game against West Virginia. So Fitz, if he can create turnovers and get in transition and play to his strengths, which is playing go, go, go and get to the rack, kick to the three-point shooters, which I think he can get a little bit better at as a distributor, then they're fine. You know, I just think as a scorer, he's not going to wow you from deep or with his jumper.
You know, this is kind of the evolution of basketball. Now point guards are expected to score. And back in the day when the basketballs were actually leather, the point guards created and distributed and defended and hit free throws. You can't have a point guard that goes to the line and misses the free throws because they'll follow you a lot. So he's kind of old school in that respect. You don't look to him for points. You look to him to create points for other players and then be solid with the ball and do those small things point guards have to do.
He is scoring. It's just it's not going to be from deep this year, and I don't think he's that type of player. And really, if we're being honest, he might not even be the best passer on the team. Marcus Garrett creates a lot of opportunities the same way Dotson does, driving to the lane and being a shot creator that way. So I think Devon's got to take a major step forward to change, but I don't see a major change coming. I don't think it necessarily has to.
Not at the college level.
No.
I mean, if he's making his teammates better, good for him.
Absolutely. As we mentioned earlier, Coach Chris Kleinman's Wildcats of Kansas State lost to Navy in the Liberty Bowl, and K-State finished the season at 8-5. So how would you sum up Kleinman's first year with the Wildcats?
We never expected 8 wins. I can tell you that. We sat right here earlier in the year and talked about if they can get to 6 wins, get to a bowl game, that's a great accomplishment. So to get to 8-4 and then play a very good Navy team, a very unconventional team that gave K-State problems, ironically more on offense than defense. And if not for special teams, this game would have really been a dud for Kansas State as Phillip Brooks had that 66-yard touchdown on the punt return. You know, K-State went to halftime tied 10-10, a field goal and a punt return. So special teams have put all the points on the board. Navy made the bigger plays. Navy was a little bit more disciplined. Shocking, it's Navy. And played to its character a little bit more, which is typically, you don't know what to expect from Navy. Navy doesn't play football conventionally. It can't. It doesn't have the players to line up and run the same kind of offense and run the same systems that you see from other schools. So it catches you with reverse. And on a 4th and 1 at midfield, it doesn't run the clock out and play for overtime. It throws a slot back pass down the field. It was gutsy, but that's exactly what Navy does. They throw that pass you don't expect, even when you're expecting it happen when you don't expect it.
Sure.
It was beautiful. They had a couple really beautiful plays. So you got to tip your hat to Navy for a great game, and then turn around and tip your hat to Kansas State for a really remarkable season, considering this program went 5-7 the year before, was depleted from departures, had some strengths to the team, but like the offensive line was a strength, and yet didn't really fit the system as well as they wanted it to. They still had some issues on offense. The defense played out of its mind at times, and I got to tell you, holding Navy to 20 points is an accomplishment no matter what the yardage was. So this team really showed some bright signs even in not winning its bowl game, and I think even though they got some retooling to do next year, Tyler, it's really a good situation right now for Kansas State football under Chris Kleiman.
Rebuild the offensive line a bit, and I think Skylar Thompson's got to take a little bit step forward as a passer.
Sure does.
Next
He
year.
needs to manage the pocket, manage pressure, understand where his guys are.
Good group of wide receivers to throw to next year, though. I like
agree.
the potential of that group.
And now let's step out of bounds. Bob Huggins called the referees 3 blind mice after the loss to KU and Lawrence. God, I love Huggins.
Bless
I just
Huggy.
love him. Bruce Weber lamented not getting any calls, any crucial calls in a loss at Oklahoma, and there was a horrible foul call on a Xavier Sneed block. What is the state of Big 12 basketball officiating? And Tyler, I'm asking this question one stinking game into the season of conference play.
I challenge you to expand the question.
Okay.
What is the state of college basketball officiating?
Here we go.
Period.
Yeah, because you have to, because we call them Big 12 officials, but these guys work Valley games, they work other games.
Yep.
You know, the biggest ones like John Higgins, you'll see him doing Big East on Monday and Big 12 on Tuesday. I can go on for an hour on this topic.
I don't even think my biggest problem is with the fouls almost, Tim. I think and you know, Greg Woods, the Manhattan Mercury, has written about this before. I don't understand why college basketball is so resistant to trying to be more like the NBA. It's like we're cutting down step back calls. We're trying to slow the pace of the game with all of these foul calls, and it's not preparing these kids for the next level. It's not at all. In fact, it's putting a little bit of a wall that they got to jump when they go to the pro level if you play the college game for a long enough time, and that doesn't seem to make sense to me, Tim. This is supposed to be more of a seamless transition from college to the pro game, and not only that, the pro game is better to watch for that reason because it's got better flow and it's fun. It's more fun to watch, and I still like college hoops. But if we're going to keep getting some of these ticky-tack fouls and the step-back thing, I don't understand. I don't really get it. I get, you know, we watch James Harden, and a lot of you guys want to tweet that he's traveling half the time. I don't see it that way personally, maybe some of the time, but I don't get why we're calling it that way.
I think college basketball officiating is in a spiral. It's a downward spiral that they can't stop by repeating the same things they do every year, which is this. They turn over the training of the new officials to the old officials. These are contract laborers. They kind of run their own game. You have to go to their camps. The veteran officials run camps to make money. You got to go impress them, kiss their you-know-what, to get into the college game, to earn the big ticket, to get the prices that are paid to these officials, which is substantial. It's incestuous, and it's going to keep happening over and over and over. If you've got mediocre officials training new officials to be mediocre, what do you get? You get mediocre and worse, and it gets worse and worse. Yeah.
It's the bottom line. Now let's hear from the fans, who I think would be very passionate about officials if you ask them. Fan question of the week is, were you guys as happy as we were, we'll claim this as a we, to see the Patriots lose 2 in a row at home to end their season? That's from Tucker and Topeka, but we're also with Tucker because I think we were happy to see it.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing to watch this happen because it doesn't happen to the Patriots.
No, it doesn't.
And they really lost 2 games they should have won, and I don't know, but it's probably humbling for people in Boston.
Not just lost 2 games. They lost to a bad Dolphins team and then lost to a wild card Titans team led by outcast Ryan Tannehill, who the Dolphins moved on from.
I didn't know he was also the rapper Outcast. It's interesting. I had no idea.
Remember to ask us your questions and send Tim music suggestions on our Facebook page and on Twitter at The Drive 13. When we return, we look at our predictions here on The Drive.
My days working, taking care of my little ones can be a lot. I checked out care.com and it was so easy for me to find local, experienced, and background check sitters. Finding our babysitter was way more affordable than I thought.
Care.com makes it super easy. Search for qualified candidates. You can view their profiles, read reviews and ratings, check their availability, send messages directly, get the help that you need. Care.com should be every person's go-to.
Welcome back as we head down the home stretch of this week's show, and now it's time to take a look at our predictions. The predictions are brought to you by Vanderbilt's, your work boot center, and remember to make your weekly predictions at thedriveshow.com. And if last week's or the last show's predictions were work boots from Vanderbilt's, they'd have you know what all over them. I won the picks at 1 and 2.
Wow.
But the viewers and Scott went 0 and 3.
Oh my.
I appreciate them being so much worse so that I could have a losing victory. Now this week's picks, and we're going to start this college hoops. K-State next Saturday. At Texas. Texas favored by 4.5. Can the Longhorns beat the Wildcats by 5 or more?
Yes.
Yes, I'd say the same thing. And the next one is?
Baylor plus 4.5 at Kansas, so the Jayhawks are a 4.5 point favorite. I'll take the Jayhawks with the points at home.
I'll take Baylor to cover that.
Okay.
Because I'm bad at this.
Should be a good game.
And our last game of the week, we shift to the
Big
NFL.
one.
Here we go. The Houston Texans plus 8.5 points at Kansas City. Will the Chiefs win by 9 or more against the Texans?
Yes, because what we forget is that they were missing a lot of key pieces for that first meeting, and that was Tyreek Hill's first game back from injury. I don't think Houston's that good. I think Kansas City wins convincingly.
I would agree with you, but I'm a Chiefs fan, so what do I know? Again, make your picks over at thedriveshow.com. Now it's time for our On the Clock segment. On the Clock is sponsored by Carpet One, buy local for a strong local community. And let's start with Mr. Tyler Griever of WIBW Sports, right here at the station.
I'm glad we talked about the Texans and the Chiefs because I think when we look at why are we looking at Fitz?
I don't know.
What are we looking at you for?
I don't know.
Anyway, when we look at the AFC, the 4 quarterbacks remaining are a great illustration of the current state of the NFL. We've been sold for so long that you got to play football a certain way to win. No, you don't. The Baltimore Ravens stripped everything and threw Lamar Jackson in there, and he's going to win MVP. The Chiefs put Patrick Mahomes and said, dude, you're going to throw this ball downfield about 40 or 50 times a game. That's how we're going to win. Deshaun Watson has been plugged similarly to Jackson in a way, and Ryan Tannehill was cast off completely from the Miami Dolphins. Nobody wanted to give him a shot as a starter, and he comes into Tennessee and replaces Marcus Mariota and leads him to the playoffs. You don't got to win one way in the NFL. It's about fit and finding the strengths of your personnel and playing to them. Those 4 teams have done that. That's why they're still standing in the AFC.
Well, it really is a revolution of quarterbacks in the NFL. We're seeing the old guard slowly move out, including Tom Brady. And as I watch college football this season, I'm struck by one thing, Tyler. My goodness, there's a lot of good young quarterbacks that will soon be in the NFL. So when I watch the national championship game a week from Monday night between LSU and Clemson, I will watch 2 very good teams that just might have the 2 best quarterbacks in all its college football. Coincidence? I think not.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
And that's it for this week's edition of The Drive. We will see you next week right here and all week on social media.
Who is June Carter Cash?
You don't know music until you know June. Experience the artist and icon story of talent, ambition, and loyalty.
She had that spark, the it.
June. New documentary now streaming exclusively on Paramount Plus. Go to Paramount Plus to try it free. Terms apply.